So, after the 76 MVP season where they missed the playoffs, Kareem has another MVP season with the Lakers in 77, and they make it all the way to the Western Conference Finals and lose to the Blazers and Bill Walton. Then in 78 and 79, there's no MVP and early first-round exits for them. In 79, they only won 47 games, and then when they got Magic Johnson in the 79-80 season, they went up to winning 61 games. Boom.
So, I wanted to talk to you guys about how they got Magic Johnson, because we didn't really talk about it in Magic's Legacy Breakdown, available in our archives, but we're going to talk about it right now because I think it's more interesting when it comes to Kareem's career. Here's why. Kareem, obviously, we spoke about in earlier in Kareem's career. He was still winning MVPs, but he was not producing in any team success or with any team success in the late 70s for the LA Lakers. So, Gail Goodridge, who was a pretty marquee player he was basically the Lakers' third option. I'll show you up here. The Jazz signed away Gail Goodridge from the Lakers. League rules at the time required required the team to compensate the other one for signing away veteran players. As compensation, the Jazz and the Lakers traded a handful of picks, including the Jazz first-round pick in 79. So the Jazz sucked. So the Lakers got the number one overall pick in the 1979 NBA draft, and they drafted the greatest point guard of all time, Magic Johnson. After that, in February of 1980, Cleveland sent, this is the Stepien rule. So Cleveland sent Ted Stepien, or he was the general manager, excuse me, and he was not in on the NBA draft. So he would trade away his picks. And the Stepien rule is you cannot trade back-to-back picks in back-to-back years. So he just gave up all of his picks, and their 1982 draft pick turned out to be number one again. And that's how they got James Worthy. And that's how they turned into a dynasty. So really, the Lakers' 80s dominance is built on the backs of pure league incompetence. I love that story. Nothing brings me more joy than describing that story to people who don't know it, because I just think that is like, if that happened today, first of all, the Jazz would get pooped on every single day in the media. Cleveland eviscerated, even worse than they already are. They'd be relegated even worse.
Yeah,
insane, incredible. Magic could have played for New Orleans. That would have worked. That would have been a nice fit. Magic in New Orleans.
You think he would have still been Showtime? You think he would have still been the same?
Who the fuck knows? Without Kareem, who knows? But
yeah, yep.
This, as I'm going to let you talk about, this inspired Kareem, did it not?
Yes. So, as we talked about in Magic's Legacy Breakdown, their very first game together pretty much was like the thing that kind of helped change Kareem's mindset of his career, because I think he was thinking about retiring at that point, or he was getting close to being tired of the game and just the media. And after drafting Magic and playing with him for the very first game, Kareem hits a game winner. I think a free throw skyhook, something like that.
Got you right now. This is the first game of Magic's career, playing the San Diego Clippers at the time.
Yeah. This might be a foreshadowment for this year. Fairly Pod Mother. But instead of Kareem there, it might be Bron on Kawhi.
And Magic hugged him like he just found out that he's giving birth to quintuplets.
I don't know if he would have been that happy with quintuplets. But yeah, and Kareem at this time, he's like not with the shits. He's just like, man, this shit happens every day.
One asshole.
Yeah.
We got at least 100 more of these if we're gonna make the playoffs.
Yeah, he's like, why you hype, man?
If you're gonna hug me after every fucking game, I'm gonna need to work out and bench more so I can hold you up after hugging you. Nice and easy.
Man.
Textbook skyhook.
Oh man, that's a tough ass shot. That's a tough ass freaking shot. I'd rather do a turnaround jump shot from right there instead of freaking skyhook. That to me, man, that shit is tough. Because it's Kareem, it doesn't look tough, but that's a tough ass freaking shot.
It looks better in slow motion.
Because it was so close. Like it looked like it was so close to being blocked. Look at that. No, not really.
Oh, it never. It always looks it, but it never ever gets blocked. There's a list of people.
And he looked at the camera like, "You saw that? You saw that, boy? You saw what I do out here? This is regular.
I'm the realest in the game.
This little motherfucker here jumping on me and shit. This is what I do, B." That's what Kareem was saying right there.
So this inspired Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to win his last MVP in his career,
winning 6 in 10 seasons. Insane.
We can talk about the overall dominance of that, or the overratedness of that, as we kind of talked about in the earlier chapters of his career. But now he's got all the competition here with him in the league, and it doesn't matter. 25, 10, and 5, pretty much, with a steal and still 3.5 blocks a game, shooting 60%. On a 60-win ball club, pretty sure.
Yeah, 61.
60 and 22.
Oh, I was confused.
I was like, I better have all these fucking Lakers stats down at this point. Lakers 60 wins, obviously leading the West.
Is he leading a win share that year too?
Let's check. Yep.
Looks like he is.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So this one,
pretty
unanimous. I don't think that's really much of a argument.
Pretty unanimous. So, and so then we get to the finals in 1980, and it is Philly versus LA.
He dominated that whole series.
Completely dominated. So I'm going to show some of the highlights after I show you his total stat line. 33 and 16 or 33 and 14, excuse me.
Yeah.
With 4.5 blocks a game. So we're going to look at some of that right now. But total dominance over his competition, and he got hurt at the end of Game 5. Woo! Look at the post move. That little quick spin elbow.
He had. This was, and as we go through we're not going to do all of his season in the 80s, but as we go through the 80s, I think having this competition in the 80s and beating these opponents kind of like makes his kind of overratedness in the 70s look a little better because he's still like dominating and doing shit in the 80s.
Well, that's always that's really what I was gonna say to you. Like, this guy played in both periods of time and dominated the 80s, really the 80s and from the late 60s too. So he got to play with and against Jerry West, Wilt Chamberlain, Elgin Baylor, Havlicek, guys like that. And he gets to see Magic and Bird and all them. And
Dr. J. What were you saying, Lindsay?
Yeah, what?
You saw the butt end of Jordan's career too.
Yeah. True. Completely true. So I think that.
Wait, sorry, that was wrong. He saw the beginning of Jordan's career at the butt end of his career.
Right.
Yeah.
But you never hear Kareem disparage the guys from the 60s. He usually has a lot of fucking positive things to say about those guys.
Yeah.
And this is a guy who would be able to tell you definitively that those guys couldn't fucking play.
Yeah, but
I feel super strongly that if
I
a guy who played with
suppose
both, say that again?
I just look at it as when they're your heroes, you look at them differently.
Not when they're your competitors. That's like that's like Kevin Durant being like, Kobe will always be better than me. You think he thinks that? No.
You think so? He was saying Will Chamberlain and those guys were better than him.
That's my point. I don't think he was saying that, but I'm saying he considers them the greatest players of all time. Like, still could, like, even though he's played with the Magics and the Larrys and the people from the 80s that we still consider at this point to be some of the greatest players of all time. Like, there's no tears for him. It's never been brought up, and I feel like he'd be the first of all, he's got the intelligence to bring something up, bring something like that up, and second of all, he has the complete experience to be able to do that. Like,
I want to know.
I definitely think that if he was going to pick the best player he ever played with or against, I'm sure he would say Magic, and then Larry and them. But I'm sure the guys in the '60s, I never hear him say those guys from the '60s just weren't on the level as the guys from the '80s. I've never heard him say it.
So this is my way of wanting to kind of disprove how that doesn't mean much to me.
Okay.
Before I even mention this person's name, who do you think? What do you think is better competition from 2010 to 2020, or 1990 to 2000? Like, what would you think?
Now
you think there's better talent now, right?
Yeah.
So Vince Carter always talks about the guys in the 90s and how they were so much like better and tougher, and like he says it all the time.
Yeah, but he's talking about the superstars, right? Or is he talking about just the regular players?
Well, yeah, he's talking about the superstar, just like Kareem would be. Kareem's not gonna be talking about the Kevin Smiths we were looking at the other.
See, this is exactly my point. He never says the guys from the 80s were soft. And he never says the guys from the 60s were shitty either. Like you're bringing up with Vince Carter. This is exactly my point. He puts them at the same level.
Yeah, but the rule changes weren't that different. But like you were playing a very similar game still in the 80s and in the 60s. Or I mean the 80s and the 70s. It was not that much of a difference in physicality. I
guess. Either way, you see a guy who dominates either period of time. Like, it's not very different. Like, it's not like he dropped off in the 80s. Like, he got older, but he was still easily producing 33 and whatever in the finals.
Yeah,
you know? Like,
yeah, and I agree. I could see that, but towards that's the beginning of the 80s, but towards the middle of the 80s, you start getting a little bit more guards and players who are playing.
I think my main point in this is if Kareem is doing this in the 80s, then I think guys like Wilt and Bill Russell would have been fine in the 80s. And if they were fine in the 80s, then I feel like they'd be fine going forward too. Like, that's how I'm doing it in my head. And Kareem is the best case example of this. Like, because he played in all those eras and because we get to see it now through the legacy breakdown. Like, the more I look at it, the more I'm thinking that I think that the guys from the 60s, as usual, don't get the credit they deserve.
So which guys? Because certain guys I agree with you, certain guys I don't.
Like Russell, Chamberlain, Jerry West.
I think Jerry West, if you put him in, maybe, and maybe it's more towards. In the 80s, it's still very similar, so I'm not disagreeing there. But when you take some of these guys and put them into certain eras, I think they start to diminish in stardom. Like, I think they look a little bit more regular than other players, but I do think that they're like all-star level kind of players. I just don't think that they're gonna I just can't get over the fact that when I'm seeing Jerry West dribble down the court, He's like looking like he's a fucking little kid just learning how to play
can I
basketball.
show you something though? Can I show you something just to bring it up?
Yeah.
Like, because since you brought that up and I'm staring at it right now, watch the Lakers guy bring the ball to the court and on this possession. Just watch. Watch Magic. Look how he's got the ball.
Yep.
It's not that fucking crazy.
No, it is very different, Russell.
No, it's not.
The guy literally is like doing a motion with the ball. Like Magic is going down the ball and and Magic kind of always
like look. Like it's not that different. It's exactly like what we just watched with Oscar Robertson. Like
no. Well, Oscar is doing that from the very jump because he doesn't want to get the ball stolen from him.
My point is, to say that these guys from way back when couldn't play it like in any era ahead of time is just crazy to me.
No, I don't think that I think as you do certain people, they become, instead of superstars that they were in their era and how they dominated, I think they become a little bit more like
Kareem's smacking them right now.
Yeah. Like Kareem, I don't have much of an argument for Kareem. I think he's gonna be great in a lot of eras. So that's not an argument. But I think some of the guards and stuff, like, I think they're not as good. And I think all of the all-time great bigs would do pretty decent. Like, as we go through each person's legacy breakdown,
I just wanted to take this moment to bring it up because Kareem's my best case example for this because he actually played in Wilt's time and in this time.
Yeah.
So and he played well in both eras. So I think that it just shows that the guys in the previous era could still do things. I guess that's my whole point. I just get mad when people go, Wilt Chamberlain would be like an average to slightly above average NBA player if he played in not the 60s. And I just think that's insane. But
yeah, I disagree.
In terms of for Kareem, I think that Magic was the spark plug for him.
Yeah.
And absolutely gave him the fire. I don't think Kareem plays 19 years without Magic. I think he probably finishes in 85. I don't think he plays out another, you know what I mean?
I agree.
But he's got Magic to take the load off of him and made the game so much easier.
Yeah.
So, and then we're going to the finals every year. What the fuck's not fun about that?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think, do you think Kareem hits, do you think his career's looked at the same? It's definitely not, but do you think there's any way he could get his career to look as dominant without Magic?
No, because I think he was a weird. I think so, and I don't know if I mentioned this in a video, but when watching Kareem, I think we did that, but I'm not sure if we have the footage or whatever. But I think Kareem reminds me a lot of when I was watching him play and looking at his tape and stuff. He looked a lot like Tim Duncan to me, but I think he didn't have all of the Tim Duncan intangibles. I don't think he was as great of a leader as Tim Duncan was.
Wow.
And I think Magic Johnson was the leader of that team.
Even at this point, even in 1980?
I think Kareem was the best player. I think
his nickname is Cap.
Yeah, but
Kareem's nickname is Cap. And
but literally,
not for no cap, it's for captain.
Nah, I think it's Cap, bro. You want to know why? I'm going to tell you why. Because pretty much this same team without Magic won 47 games. Yeah, sure, Magic is really good, talented, and everything. But I think Magic gave them a different type of energy from the very beginning of the season, and it made them play completely different. And I think Magic is going to do that with any team he plays for. And he made Kareem want to play the game more and have fun while playing the game. Like, I think he was the leader of that team without definitively being the leader of that team, because in this same series, in the same finals that we watch, you see them all deflated after Kareem gets injured, and Magic literally he was just a leader from the very jump, and pretty much said, I got you guys," and he had them. Like I think Magic plays a huge role in all of Kareem's success, like in the 80s.
So when we did Magic Johnson's legacy breakdown, I definitely felt like, even though he said 21, 11, and almost 9 with 3 steals.
Yep.
I just felt like Kareem had done the more damage to get them to this particular series win. I felt like even though Magic got them over the hump, had Kareem had been healthy, I think the same outcome would have occurred.
And everyone agrees. Like, everyone had Kareem as the Finals MVP before that last game.
Yeah.
But the reason that it ended up the way it was is because Kareem would have just ended. Like, if Magic didn't do what he did, Kareem would have never won Finals MVP because they would have lost the series more than likely. So
wait, time out. You think the Lakers would have lost the series if Magic didn't do what he did?
And Kareem wasn't gonna be Kareem. Kareem said he had a 2-week long injury.
No, that I understand, but I thought you had said if Kareem was healthy and Magic didn't do what he did, it wouldn't have mattered. I think Kareem would have gotten.
Oh, no! I didn't say it. I was saying the reason it ended up the way that it did was because of Magic doing what he did and making them win the series, because they wouldn't have won the series otherwise. Yeah. So, like, Kareem wouldn't have had the chance to win Finals MVP because of his injury. He would have never won. They would have never won the championship, and they would have never given him Finals MVP.
Yeah. Do you think if the same series happens in 2020, they get Kareem the Finals MVP?
No.
No?
I think the same thing happens.
Because I think if LeBron gets hurt in Game 5, hypothetically, let's go that Cleveland team with Kyrie and LeBron. I say LeBron, but the game where they both had 40, let's say that's a Game 6, right? Mm-hmm. Or this scenario where it was Game 5, and then in Game 6, Kyrie puts up 45, and they finish it. But LeBron's averaging a triple-double for the series. I still think they give it to LeBron.
No, I think. So
for the totality,
so we're talking the 2016 season. So to paint the picture for the viewers, LeBron James and Kyrie Irving gets the 40 points, and both get 40 in Game 5. Game 6, LeBron does what he does, but gets injured at the end of the game.
Yeah.
So now we go into Game 7, going against that Warriors team, and Kyrie's by himself pretty much.
Yeah.
With Kevin Bum-ass Love.
Yeah.
So
one game, like the same.
And then Kyrie Irving puts up 45, 15, and what is it? 45, 15, and 12, something like that. Or some crazy shit.
Yeah.
And they win the series because of that. Everyone is giving the Finals MVP to Kyrie Irving because they would have otherwise never won the series because of the injury. Like, you can't. He literally has a crazy game that was the defining point of the series. Like, they were supposed to lose, and because of his game, they didn't. Like, you have to give him. You have to. He's the MVP, because if not, they would have. He's the reason that they won the series.
Yeah. Okay, I like that.
Like little circumstances like that change things. But if we're looking at it and we're just looking at straight up numbers, I'm always gonna say, yeah, Kareem should have won it. But then when you explain, Kareem got injured in the last minute or whatever, and not the last minute, but got injured and then couldn't play.
That's the thing. To me, that's not how I would have described it. I would have said Kareem absolutely fucked them up for 5 games and then got hurt, and then Magic sealed the deal.
Yeah,
I think. But to me, it's just like, no matter which way you slice it, I think you got to give the best player on the best team the Finals MVP, because it's not like he fucking did not show up. He did. He just got hurt.
Magic said that he thought that Kareem.
He gave. That was the other thing. Thank you. Fucking
yep.
He gave him the fucking trophy. So clearly, Magic agrees with me.
No, like, I could see it going either way. Like, but for me, I'm looking at it from you have to take it into full like what happened
Yeah.
and knowing what you know. No one believed that the Lakers were going to win that series. Even the Sixers said this is going to be 2 scrimmage games pretty much, and we're just going to whoop their ass and win a chip real quick.
Oh,
Like that's how they felt. So to me, you gotta like looking at how much of an underdog they were, and they ended up winning. Like Magic just came through, and when no one else believed that he would, even his teammates didn't believe it, and that's again why I feel like Magic was the leader of that team.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's all about the context.
Context. Add context, Russell.